Oh, man. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 27th episode of the Daily Attorney Podcast, where we talk to women attorneys all over the United States who are amazing at what they do inside and outside of the legal profession. I sincerely can't believe we're at 27. As you all know, this month is the month of May. We're celebrating Haitian Flag Day. However, today our guest is an ally, and she definitely needs no introduction, but I'm going to give her one anyway. Ms. Sheri Hoidra is the owner of the Sheri Hoidra Law Office located in Baltimore County, Maryland. She is a graduate of my alma mater, the University of Baltimore School of Law. She currently serves as the co-editor-in-chief of the Trial Reporter, which is the premier journal of the Maryland Association for Justice. It's the premier journal for the Maryland Association for Justice. She also serves on their board of governors. She is an active member of the Immigration Council of the Maryland State Bar Association and has recently been nominated to serve on their board of governors as well, which she has already started. We'll dive into that with her. If that is not enough, she reviews ethical standards for attorneys practicing in Maryland as a member of the peer review committee. She is also a fellow of the Maryland Bar Foundation. She is a former intern for the Department of Homeland Security, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. She successfully argued cases before federal immigration judges while as an intern with DHS. She has dedicated her time and expertise to the Immigrant Rights Clinic at the University of Baltimore. She is a former law clerk for the Office of the Public Defender in Baltimore County. Her firm focuses on family law, criminal law, DUI and DWI defense, auto accident litigation, will preparation, and of course, immigration law. She practices immigration at a national level, which is ultimately her lifelong passion. She is an Iranian-American immigrant whose parents escaped the aftermath of the Iranian Revolution and sought asylum in the US. She has firsthand knowledge of the difficulties involved in obtaining status in this country and truly sympathizes with her clients. 5 years ago, I started my practice, and somehow I found her information and I reached out to her for advice on navigating the world of being an attorney and a business owner. And I sincerely remember that day. I walked into your office with my backpack on, looking like a 12-year-old, and we sat down and we talked as if we had known each other for years. And I always tell this story because it really did mean the world to me, right? We're attorneys, our schedules are insane. And at that time, I had no idea. And you always told me, if you do good work, the clients will come. And I just can't believe how much that rings true. And over the years, I have just watched you just insanely blow up everything that you've done and just kicked ass on all levels.
You're too kind.
And I'm so happy and honored to be your friend and to know you. And I'm happy that you chose to sit down with us today so we can get to know Ms. Sheri Hoidra. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. And this is amazing. I love that you've committed to this. You're at podcast 27. I mean, it takes a lot, that kind of dedication when you have your trial schedule and your obligations is just incredible. So salute to you. And I love to be in the mix of the Haitian, presenters, because I actually have a lot of interesting Haitian asylum cases right now.
Yes.
So I find the whole situation right now in Haiti really interesting and fascinating. But thank you so much for having me. My favorite number 7, so I like that.
Oh, yay! 27.
7 in the mix there. So
look at that.
Lucky day for me.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. And as I stated, you are definitely an ally to members of, the Haitian community and to attorneys such as myself. And you have dedicated an insane amount of time, right? Not only in developing yourself, developing your business, but helping your clients, spending time, with your family, like you do earlier backstage. I said, if I see one more vacation, I'm going to lose my mind because I haven't even gone on my first one yet. But I really wanted to, kind of dive into you and why you do what you do. Because I know why you do what you do, but, you know, I want everybody else to kind of understand that. You know, why did you decide to, you know, open up your law firm and really kind of hone in on immigration law as well as the other areas?
Right. So I actually opened up my own firm because right out of law school, I had a position at a small firm, and I just didn't feel like they were the right fit for me. And it was a male dominated firm. Actually, it was just two male partners there, really didn't have much support staff. And I kind of didn't like what I was seeing. And I wanted to have a more hands-on and close relationship with my clients. So how I actually started was I reached out to another attorney whose ad I saw on Facebook. And I saw that she had a nice office, and I reached out to her and I said, listen, I think about hanging at my own shingle. How much do you think I can start paying you monthly to rent out your space? And it started at like $250 a month or something.
Wow.
It was like really low. I had no clients. I left that firm with one client.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, how am I going to manage this? Because I actually, this is how dire it seemed at the time compared to now. It's just a world apart. But I actually picked up an application to PF Chang's just in case.
Wow.
Starting my own firm didn't work out. Thank God I never even had to complete the application. But I started with one client. And that's why when I say to you, when you do good work, the clients will come, because by year one, I hadn't really even advertised very much, but friends and family came to know, you know, I was practicing. I chose my area of law, immigration mainly, based on the fact that that's what I wanted to do. That was my passion, right? I thought, hey, I came here as an immigrant. This is the best way to give back to my community. And I took a lot of these little CLE classes, and, you know, I bought an immigration practice toolbox from AILA. And I started to try and compile as many templates as I possibly could. And word kind of got out that I had this firm, and I started accumulating my clients just through word of mouth, because I still back then didn't even have the money to advertise, mind you, you know. And over time, it just became, you know, that the paralegal that was working for the lawyer that I started office sharing with, she handled car accident cases. So I started kind of sharing her salary with the other attorney, you know, paying her salary. And then I started taking in these car accident cases. I learned how to do car accident litigation kind of on the fly. I went to see other lawyers trying cases in court. And I came to find out how those cases are filed, you know, how to file a 10104, 10105 in the district court, getting comfortable, right? Speaking in front of others. Yeah. There was a lot to learn that first year. But my second year, I got pregnant with my first kid.
Wow.
And it was really crazy because I planned it. I did. At that point, I think I maybe had like 20 clients. And things were a lot more manageable. So I was back then taking off every Friday, you know, once I had my baby. And I was still managing a pretty large caseload, what I thought at the time was a large caseload at least. And I got pregnant with my second kid a year and a month later after I had my second kid a year and a month later after having my first. Wow. So that was really traumatic because that wasn't something I planned. And right. I wanted to have my first baby, which is my law firm, survive, right? Being right. a mom. And that was really challenging. You know, I didn't know how I was going to get through it. So thank God I had a good support system. I had a great husband. I had, right. you know, my mother-in-law who had retired at the time and was able to help me raise my kids basically, because I slowly started really building a solid client base, because when you really put the time and the effort into those cases, yeah. they tell their friends and family about yep. you, right? You become family with your clients. Yep. Once in a blue moon, you know, you take a case where you really knock it out of the park and they send you everyone they know. Yep. So I, for a few years there, it was really a grind. It's a blur, actually. I think what I basically did coming out, I think was the smartest thing I did was I focused on my online presence yes. to where anything that was a free, like a platform like Facebook or Twitter or writing blogs and things like that, I honed in on. And making a niche for yourself in the online space, even for free flat platforms, can do a lot for your career. So, I that's how I kind of came out and I established myself in the field.
Yes. And you definitely did. And it's amazing because one of the things that I absolutely adore about you is, and hopefully everybody can clearly see it, is your transparency, right? You are not one of those attorneys that feels that, well, let me just sit here in my little corner, mind my business, and, kind of keep everything to myself. You're very knowledgeable. You share that knowledge with everyone. When I have an issue, I send you an email or we meet up for lunch and we talk it through. You're very approachable. And I know your clients get that from you, right? But you said something hilarious earlier about PF Chang's. I'm happy you don't work there either.
I was a bartender for many years, and that paid the bills, So
it really does. When I was waiting for bar results, I was working at Kohl's, and I was working my ass off, right, for like $400 a week, and it was like my proudest moment, right, because you grind and you're working towards something else, and ultimately you open up, your law firm. Did you have that was a sweet amount for office space, by the way. $250 is pretty awesome.
I wish it was that now.
I know. It's not. Speaking of office space, I know you also kind of revamped your office space sometime either last year or beginning of the year. I don't even know anymore. It was last year, right? Did you run into any issues in trying to manage redoing the space, seeing clients while COVID is happening, and, also taking care of yourself and seeing your family during that time?
I actually, they planned the renovation around like a 2-week period. It didn't really cause too much disruption, but it was on the other side of the office, so I could still easily meet with clients in my actual physical office. Good. So that was good. It wasn't too bad. I was one of the few attorneys still meeting with clients face to face during the pandemic. Yeah. So, it was a little strange having to.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah, I was going to ask
you. Masks, taking my kids to daycare in the morning, everything else in between.
Yeah. I definitely stopped taking, when I actually have to meet with someone in person, I'm like, I got to dress like a grown-up today. Fine. We've become so complacent with, video and phone during the age of COVID. Did COVID kind of disrupt anything for you, or were you able to, kind of just pick up where you left off, or did you turn anything into virtual practice?
So I can't really go to a purely virtual platform because a lot of my clients are not tech friendly. They come, some of them are refugees who are not familiar with technology the way we are. Some of them just don't want to talk about the things that they want to discuss via, a virtual means. They want to be face to face and tell you about their stories, especially asylum clients. Yeah. They really don't like virtual meetings. I like meeting virtually for settlement conferences, scheduling conferences, things involving the courts, but I don't mind face-to-face meetings with clients. I like dressing up. I like going to the office. These are things that I enjoy. I am a people person. Yes. So for me, the pandemic was actually pretty tough because it felt like I was on an island by myself, where I was the only person still kind of having people come to the office, of course, with masks, but, everyone has a different style. And I think just my area of practice, immigration law, where I'm doing a lot of family-based immigration and things like that, it just wasn't, and it's paper heavy.
Yes.
that if I did everything virtually, I think I probably would have spent over $50,000 just on paper alone, printing everybody's stuff, because they wouldn't have been in person dropping things off to me. So I actually, I did still, for about, I think maybe a month or 2 months after the pandemic really hit, I did close up shop for a little bit just to see how things were going to play out. And I had my staff work from home, but I really wasn't closed for very long.
Yeah. Some people just, don't prefer it. I like a mix of the two. I like having the option from, to work from home. That for me just, it works a little bit better. As you opened up your law firm and as you continue to grow, did you have any difficulties, that you had to overcome?
Yeah. For one, I'm not a morning person.
No, you are not.
So imagine not being a morning person, having your own law firm, and now 3 kids, right? I have to get them off to do their schooling and all of that. And still manage to make it to court by 8, 9 a.m. sometimes. That's tough. You have to change who you are sometimes to become who you want to be, And I think that was a real uphill battle for me. I still deal with today, and that's coming from a true place. Yeah. Not everyone sees the outside and they think it's like it started perfectly. It's not like that. Every day is a grind. You have to really want it. You really do. You have to really want it. And I think what makes me push through the tough times is seeing the result and seeing that my clients are happy at the end of it. It really does make me feel like I have a purpose in life. So I think probably for me, I don't like monotony. I think that's probably why I practice so many different areas of law. I don't like predictability. And that's not what you would think of when you think of someone who owns their own firm. But that's just who I am generally. And that's been a challenge for me. But I haven't had any issues yet. I've made it to court every time on time so far. So I think I'm okay.
Yeah, being late to court is not really an option.
No, definitely not.
I sometimes when I have to leave here to go to Harford County, because I'm in Baltimore County, it's gotten to a point where Judge Carr doesn't even look for me anymore. He's like, she'll show up at some point.
I love it.
And I'll come in. I'm like, Judge Carr, I'm so sorry. He's like, I know. I-95 is bad. We know. Because they're doing this ridiculous amount of work. And so there's always like some kind of chaos. And I'm always trying to wrap something up here because, you want to get things off your desk and kind of push things forward for your clients. And so by the time I get up there, he literally will send a search party for me. And they're just like, hey, Marie, Judge Carr is looking for you. And so unfortunately, I have a bad habit of being late there. But usually if it's Baltimore County, I have no issues because it's right across the street. You have to travel a little farther because you're in Catonsville. So you have to travel, what is it? Like, I think 20 minutes, right?
I'm actually in Pikesville, which is about 15 minutes from Baltimore.
You know what? I'm thinking where we usually meet for lunch.
Yes.
You're in Pikesville. That's right. I was actually near your office. You guys have the Ruth Chris, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was over there.
Nearly enough at, by the way. We should have lunch there next time. Yeah.
We'll do that. Because we usually meet at Catonsville Gourmet.
Yes.
That's why I'm thinking Catonsville.
They
really do. They really, and it's funny because I'm vegetarian, vegan. I go back and forth, and I don't even eat meat, but I always suggest there because they have really good fries that they make.
Or the chips. I think the chips are the ones.
And they call them. I think they call them fries or something like that. But they make.
Yeah, what they were calling them.
They, I might be wrong, but they make their own chips, and it's in that plastic bag that I always get to go. Yeah, it's a fave. Yeah, it's a little greedy. I'm sorry. We totally veered left. What would you say is something that, what has been your biggest lesson that you ultimately learned, just as a firm owner and as an attorney, something that you ultimately thought was true on one end. And, as you're going through this journey, you're like, whoa, this is not what I thought this was at all.
I think when you take a case, you have a perception of what's right and what's wrong, and you have an idea of what the outcome should be. You tell yourself in your mind, like, this is what I think the result's going to be. And you kind of assume almost sometimes that that's the result that you're going to get from the judge. It's so important to remember that perspectives vary, even on the same set of facts, right? What you might think is a material change in circumstances to a judge might not be. And you've prepped your whole case assuming 25 miles is a material change in circumstances. Meanwhile, you go to court, you have your whole case prepped, come to find out this judge doesn't think 25 miles is a material change in circumstances at all, and your case is dismissed at a motion to dismiss, right? At the end of your case in chief. That's happened to me before.
Yeah.
You know, that type of unexpected result is something you have to learn to get used to. And I say that because you don't win every case. You can't win every single case. You win most of them, at least good lawyers do, right? You win most of them. But there are those cases that you just can't win because the court has a different perception of reality than you do. And that can be really stressful at times. I've had to learn to adjust to that. I've had pro se parties get away with things on the record that someone who's represented would never get away with.
Yeah.
And I'm over there seething, right? Like, they didn't even get a lawyer and they're getting away with murder. And you have to tone it down and you have to maintain civility, no matter how annoying the judge is, no matter how inconsistent or uncredible the witnesses. You have to maintain civility. And that took time for me to get used to because I'm a little firecracker, right? You want to object to every question sometimes. You want to get under the skin of opposing counsel. But civility goes a long way. And that's something I had to learn over time. You get more with honey. You do.
You definitely do. Family law is one of those areas where I was having a conversation with a colleague. And, one of the reasons why I made the decision to leave family law is exactly what you just said. You're looking at the facts and you're just like, oh, this is logical, right? This makes sense. And you get in front of a judge, you put on your whole case, you argue a motion, whatnot, and it goes completely left. And you're just like, how did we arrive here?
Did you just say you're not doing family law anymore? When did
I didn't tell you yet. No, I know the last time we had lunch, I hadn't yet made the decision. It was something that was like in the back of my head. Yeah, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And I know when we had talked, we had discussed the percentages of family law. I think ours were a bit switched. Mine was heavy on the family law and light on the estates and trusts and tax, and yours was light on the family law and heavy on immigration. But yeah, I ultimately made the decision that I just cannot and do not want to do it. So yeah, I made that decision in February and really just never looked back. So we're in the process of closing some cases. I think we have about 12 or 13 left.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you happier now? Do you find yourself?
Yes, I am. And that's what, the inconsistencies in the results when you have a good parent that is just trying his or her best. I'm looking at more of, I'm not just looking at the facts. I'm not looking at the current circumstances. I'm looking at where is this person coming from? What knowledge do they have? What ignorances, are there? What biases are there? All of these things that unfortunately our best interest standard does take into account depending on the judge, right? So I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. It is. And also just seeing people wanting to hurt each other just because they can. No thanks.
Yeah,
right?
That's really tough, especially as a parent. It's like, just work it out. If you could just sit two adults down and say, listen, you don't want a complete stranger making these decisions for you. Y'all can have a 10-minute conversation save yourself $25,000 and come up with a solution that's going to be better than what this judge gives you. No one wants to hear it because the toxicity takes over, right?
Yep.
So that is a hard part about being a family law attorney, is being surrounded with toxicity. But I don't let it bother me. I still have a very, they tell you, like, if you're a family law lawyer, let me knock on wood when I say this. When you're a family law lawyer, you're more like get divorced. I find it to be the opposite, actually.
Right, because you see what you should not do.
Right.
Right.
And I see the holiday schedules, and I'm like, I can't do this with my kids.
No.
Are you kidding? I'm going to forgive this slight today, because I've seen what divorce really does. And it's just, replacing one problem with another. So
literally, that's all that it is. That's all that it is. I'm more emotionally centered, where I want people to work things out and talk things out and figure out, okay, where did this go wrong? Even if we're not good for each other, how can we still be a team and co-parent and work together? And like you said, some people are so embroiled in their toxicity, they don't want to do that. They don't care. They just want to cause problems. And I don't, and you do ethics work. You don't think, you and I both agree, it's not the best thing for an attorney to egg on the other person just because they can, right? Bar complaints happen. Don't think just because you're not representing somebody that they cannot, lodge a bar complaint against you. There's just certain things, there's just certain things that we should be doing that in the family law space that is not happening. And I'm no politician. I'm not involved in any of that stuff. I think you're more involved in MAJ than I ever will be. So I was like, you know what, they can have it. So, yeah.
Although I will be asking you to write an article for the Trial Reporter, but I'll leave that off.
You did say that. I will do that. I will do that. You can hold me to it. You can actually hold me to it. Let me know what you want me to write, and I will get to writing. I promise you that. How do you, and you do a lot. I think it's very clear you do a lot. And I know you're heavily involved in MAJ, like David Diggs is, whom I'm sure you know.
Friend of mine.
How in the world, he was another person who helped me a lot in the beginning. How do you find time for all of this? Like when do you sleep?
I used to sleep less. I did. I used to sleep less. I find myself now, I can't get by with less than 6 hours a night. I used to pull one all-nighter at least a week. And I'm saying this, and you know how I am. I'm a open book. And I just don't want you to know about the real life problems of a trial attorney. I would just pull all-nighters to get filings done. And it started to affect my health. I had overactive thyroid issues. I had hyperthyroidism, and now I had to go on medication for it. And it's kind of subsided somewhat, but I still can get a rapid heartbeat and things like that. So I've had to medicate the fact that I pushed myself too hard. You have to make time for your health. You do. You have to make time for sleep. When I started my firm, I got involved in a whole lot, and I still am involved in a whole lot, but I have stepped back a little. Okay. Because the truth is I was taking too much on at once, and I have to make sure that the work gets done. The work is the most important thing. You have to make sure your clients are happy and satisfied, because the work is what matters at the end of the day, not your associations and your memberships. So although I am still a member of MAJ, I'm still the chief editor and co-editor in chief of the Trial Reporter. I step back as the chair of their immigration section. And so now I've kind of switched gears. I'm doing more with the MSBA Immigration Council. I'm doing some of their legislative liaison work, some of their U visa committee work, but I piecemeal things, and I just try to find time so that it fits in my calendar. I outlook everything. Like I will outlook a shower. Okay.
Yes.
Like take kids to daycare, or take daughter to daycare, get boys on the bus, because I have 3 kids. And then, my husband works as well. So if I didn't have a good supportive spouse, I don't think I could do as much, truly, because I spend more time with my kids in the mornings. Mm-hmm. So, because I make my own schedule, I get to the office, 11-ish usually. And then I don't get home until 7:30 at night. My husband's already made dinner and we're already kind of getting ready to wind down for the night. And so in the middle of the day, I will probably do something non-client related, such as this podcast. And then I'll pepper in some client meetings. But, it's a tough life. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot of things that we try to maneuver. But because I'm a one-person show, no one else is going to advertise for me. So you have to make the time. And I'm happy to do the work that I do. So I gladly make the time, but every day is a grind. Like I said, my life is 15-minute intervals. It's just the truth.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But I don't hourly bill, which so that saves me time.
No, you don't. And I love that. I totally flubbed on the flat fees. I did. Oh my gosh, it was bad. But I remember when I first started practicing, we were talking about fees and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do hourly or flat fee. And you are like the queen of flat fees. Like you figured out, okay, this is what this is going to cost. Mm-hmm. This is how much time it's going to take. And you're true to that. And I think that your clients appreciate you even more for it because it's upfront pricing. No one has to guess as to how much this is going to cost, and it takes the guesswork out of everything, and it takes the anxiety out of knowing, okay, can I afford my attorney bill this month, right? So it's amazing, and I know you've recently revamped, the fees. When we met 5 years ago, they were very reasonable. Were very reasonable.
A little higher over time. They have, because I learned, right? It's one of those things. You start with one concept of, hey, this is how much this is worth. Yes. And then you realize, hey, the contempt case is actually way more time than, 6-7 hours.
Yeah, and it definitely is. Yeah, it definitely is, depending on, how small or how big the contempt can be. So I do want to ask you one last question before you leave. If you were to have any impact on your community, family, friends, what would you, want that to be?
If I had an impact on my community and friends.
If you can leave an impact on anybody, especially your community, what would you want that to be?
My impact. I think the most important thing to me, and this might sound cliche in a way, but I want other women to know that it is possible to do it all. It's not going to be easy, but you can manage having a business or a profession, being a mom, and being happy. All of those things can coexist. I think that that's really why I do as much as I do, is so other people can see, listen, this is doable. Someone out there is doing it. Maybe I should try. And that's really why I do what I do, because I'm a woman of color. I think it's important. I'm a Persian American immigrant. Yeah. I came here with nothing. My dad came here. He lost his job as a very prestigious associate dean. He came and sold ice cream to get me and my family to the United States. And I don't forget that. I don't forget where I come from. And I like to give back to my community. And I think especially to minority women, I want them to know that success is something that, you might be the only woman in the room, a woman of color in the room, but you have power. There's power in your presence, and you have to hone into that and want to be that person in the room. That's the biggest impact I hope that I have with trying to maintain some social media presence and working hard the way that I do. I think that's the most important thing to me.
And I love that. Absolutely love that. Our families have kind of a little bit of similar story. My parents came here. I was 2 years old, so I don't remember anything, right?
Mhm.
But, my mom, I think when she tells the story, I think she was working for like $3.18 an hour. $3. Can you imagine?
Yeah, the
That's
sacrifices.
that's a huge
Yeah,
sacrifice, right?
absolutely.
And I always tell people it's our families come here because they want to give us something that they didn't have. And you're helping your clients provide the same thing, to their families. All of the immigration attorneys I've had on here, we all agree that not only are you impacting this person, but you're impacting all of their future generations. You're giving all of them a fighting chance that they ultimately would not have had. And people like you and I are definitely proof that, with immigration, you
Hmm.
get chances to do
Hmm.
wonderful things,
Hmm.
and your kids can leave marks on the world that, are everlasting. So, I mean,
Immigration is the best thing
it
for
is.
America. It really is. I mean, you can't the caliber of individuals in this country is directly related to immigration in many
Yes.
ways. So I think I'd like to think that because there's the immigration lawyer who got me here is still practicing law. She's
What?
Yeah, she practices in DC. She's a fantastic. Her name's Jan
Wow.
Peterson. She
Wow.
is still practicing, world-renowned attorney. I mean, fantastic. If my dad hadn't hired a really good immigration lawyer, I wouldn't be where I am sitting now here today.
Yep.
I like to think that maybe there's one kid out there, right,
Yep.
who I've helped. One day they may be able to help others come to the US and live their American dream too. I think that's the coolest thing in the world. I hope
It
that there's
is.
somebody out there that's gonna be. I'll be their Jan Peterson one day. That would be
You
great.
never, well, you never know. I actually just met with a colleague and former business coach, and she's actually saying she used to be well, we call it SINA, but New Jersey has a different word for it. She was a SINA type attorney. And she's saying that even now she's getting invitations to weddings, graduations for
Wow.
the children that she rescued out of foster care.
That's
So
so sweet.
yes, you will
What a blessing.
1000% have that experience. Trust me. It's amazing. I have the same thing too. I still get cards from clients from 2017, get phone calls, they check in on me and my son. It's just we build relationships with our clients. So you're definitely having that impact. And thank you so much for being here today. If anyone
Thank
wants to get
you.
in contact with you, um, to learn more about your firm. I'm sorry. I blanked out there for a second. What's the best way for them to reach you?
Email's great. My email's shoidra@sherihoidralaw.com. You can also call the office at 443-660-7513. My staff will be happy to help you. My email has live chat, or my website has live chat. So we're easily accessible. If anyone needs to get into contact with me, you can do so multiple ways.
Well, thank you again, Sheri. I'm your host, Marie-Eve Nadine G. Baptiste. I'm the owner and CEO of the St. Eve Law Firm located here in Towson, Maryland. Please follow, like, and subscribe. And again, thank you. I hope to see you
Thank
again,
you,
Sheri.
Marie. Good to see you.
Same.
See you, Chris.
Bye.
Bye.